Sean Boredom. You the man. Okay. So, to get back to it, let's restart a little bit. Let's backtrack a little bit.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So, thank you, Sean. You're amazing. Luckily
Thank
for
you.
you, we're going to edit this so if you want to replay that, but I will make a small clip for Sean. Let's go, Sean. Chris, high five.
Sean, you're the man.
I'll make a little clip, a little reel for you, and I'll tag in it. Thank you very much. That was very helpful. Now, the topic that we wanted to talk about was
Lore.
yes. Do the players start with lore in the game? Knowing ancient lore, knowing the whole, essentially like the religions and the happenings. It could be vampire lore. It could be wolf. Do they know of the monsters? Do they know of all the ins and outs of the mind flayers? Do they like all the lore that you have as a DM built up and to tell this story? Are they privy to it? And we both sort of have talked about and sort of agree. Well, at least I agree.
Yeah.
With the idea that I like to have my guys as IDM have it act sort of like the real world. So like where would you, in our life, where would you pick up on the lore? You'd pick it up at church. You pick it up at school. You pick it up from nighttime stories. You pick it up from your old
and
veteran grandfather.
You pick up other stories from travelers coming in town. Like people coming, sitting around the fire and telling stories of tales from faraway place. Yeah. And so like, when do you disclose this lore to them? So there's two answers. It's yes or no. So if it's yes, if the players come into the game, session 0, and they know the lore, you got to give them a lore dump pretty fast. Well, I think you give them, there's a certain amount that they're going to need to be able to engage with your story if you want them to engage with your story. Mm-hmm. So they're like, their primer is, here's the full history that you would know, and of course any religious characters or like your clerics or your paladins who are tied to a deity would have information about them. So maybe you have another little amendment for each one of them, or if you want to give them all 417 pages that you've built up of like the history of all the gods, all the towns, and tell them pick and choose what you want to know. You can go any way.
Yeah. So in our,
I know as a DM you build so much in the world, and you just want to share that with everyone.
Yeah. And
me as a player, I want to learn all of that, but I love to learn it in the story.
So I don't want to go on a random tangent. I'm not going to hit the button yet. Not yet. But at the very beginning of it, I had such a long story, you guys, session 3 was the big lore dump. You found you woke up in a dungeon and you guys played in the dungeon for 3 sessions. It was crazy, Walking Dead and all this stuff. And then you found someone similar to you, a prisoner. Turns out to be someone who sent a sage that was dying that sent you on your quest. And she had this big rant, and I read it out to you guys. And I was saying before that I think I should have handed you the piece of paper as a cliffhanger. Like, cliffhangers are great for lore. I think lore drops, in my opinion, should be read sometimes, unless it's like pieced together for that session. Now, in terms of players knowing the lore in the world, I think it's like you don't want to force it on them, unless it's like, I don't know. It depends on what kind of session you're doing.
Well, and also, if you're going through some temple or some part of the world, and someone's looking at a book or hearing a story, and some players ask, "Would I know that?" You can ask them, "Well, would you? Would your character know anything about this?" Let them create their backstory with this knowledge that this exists, because there's so much in your world, and it's really hard for you to tell me everything that's in your mind because of how much you've created. But sometimes, like you would say, would my character know mind flayers? Probably not.
Right.
Like, yeah, I probably wouldn't know about that. So I'm gonna wait, be surprised by what happens, and not know that insight before it comes.
And one way to set this up, though, is just saying you don't know the whole lore. So questions are inspiration for the appropriate questions and stuff like that. Like
it's like in video games
that
Yeah, it's like in video games when you have that fog of war, you want to see what's in that fog.
Of course.
Yeah. It's like not knowing the full story of the lore of the land, of the characters. I want to learn that. I want to go to that place. I want to go to the Sky Kingdom and see those elephants that I've heard so much about. You want to put a little out there.
Random tangent, just real quick.
Yeah.
Did you guys like the Fog of War I put in? I think Fog of War is great.
Oh yeah,
Fog of War. I put a. If you guys tuned in last time on the tabletop, I put a Fog of War on the tabletop, and you could see through my eyes. Which next time I'm gonna try to do it for the viewer to see it through a player, and I can just create a third-party player and put them on the side, and see what they were saying. But if you're playing it digitally, you literally move your character, and like that's how far you can see.
Yeah, it's great. Awesome. I love it. I love it.
But I digress. No. Lore drops. When do you do them? That's entirely up to the story. Ours is a particular campaign that we're actually building ourselves. We're making it so it's playable. But we started from scratch. The whole world that we've created, that I started creating, I've realized that some of the lore in the world has to actually come from the players. And it's actually quite nice to not have all of the pressure of the world creation and lore in it from me. So like it's nice that certain people come up with their own, like Adam came up with his own little village in the mountains. Now I can build off that,
Yeah, we're creating a shared story together. So why wouldn't we be able to put some world building aspects of like Turgan's hometown in there?
Right. So I think the answer to the question is it depends what type of campaign you're playing, and
how much you want them to come into it.
Right.
Knowing maybe it's like you're all from secluded islands, or people don't share information that much, so you don't really know about this place, or you're going to some faraway land.
And in that case, I would sort of like have. It's always nice play a set, like do your lore drop, maybe like. You hear people in a tavern, or you all know a myth, and maybe if the dungeon master is like, no, I'm not gonna say creative enough, because you don't, have each player hear the myth, but just a different tale.
Slightly different.
Maybe like my guy's name is Hercules, and Chris, your guy's name is Cicero. But the same type of thing happens, and then like session 3 or 4, boom, you have a lore drop. Unless you want to get right into it, maybe a one game night is a one and done for the evening. Was a one off, like
one shot.
You go in. You guys are all hunters. You're hunting the vampires. You know that the vampire is out to get the goblet, and if he spills the prince's blood in the goblet and drinks it, then the whole world becomes slugs. And
that sounds like slugs. A fun night of raiding a vampire's mansion. Set us right up at the door. There you go. Here's your one-shot idea for the night.
Vampire. So in terms of what were the?
Sometimes you need a lot. It depends on what you're playing. Like what you're saying.
Switzerland.
My favorite answer. I love it. If you're doing a one-shot or just that one game, you don't need that much lore for the story. You're like, this is who you are. This is who they are. go have fun. You only need the lore of this tiny little plot that you're living in.
This is who you are. This is what you are.
Yeah. Or if you're doing our 3-year campaign, it's you give up us as much as we can absorb.
I've literally given you not a lot of
you've given us 96 plus sessions of lore.
Yeah, and still we just figured out what to do with these elemental artifacts, and we don't know how to use them, and we just figured it out. I mean, listen, it's a process. Well, if you're playing a written book from D&D Beyond, it's probably in there. Like it probably has in the intro.
But not everything is filled out, and you can change whatever you want. It's your game. Who's gonna tell you no?
Yeah. I mean, what's the point? Like if you going back to that vampire thing, the vampire's looking for the queen to spill into the goblet, and he's looking for the goblet, and then the characters are like, well, I want to go in the water. Well, then the lore doesn't really matter now, does it?
Well, yeah. Well, it's also then you go, okay, you go into the water, make another character that wants to go and kill this vampire.
Yeah, or you.
This is what we're doing tonight.
And when you come out of the water, to go back to that original idea, you just see a bunch of slugs attack. So that was I liked that that lore drop. Next topic for next Let's Talk Lore. We're always going to do one topic that's posted on Instagram on a poll, so get on there and push that button. We'll talk about whatever you guys want to talk about, even if it's like crazy. There was one person that was like, talk about NPC rebuilds, and I was like, I just talked about that. How do I do this again but better?
Differently.
I could figure it out, but I'm so happy that Sean told us about this mic check.
The audio.
Mic check.
Thank you.
Mic check. I'm gonna roll this die real quick. I got a 3. So you're gonna lead this one.
Oh, this one? Is this the other one we're talking about?
Yeah, let's do it.
So, say you're fighting some dark rogue-like creatures who were hiding in the shadows as you're creeping down this hallway. And say you rush up to them and you tripped on a trap and almost face planted and then died trying to hit them and failing miserably. And then you get revived and you rush back across the room to try and save your friend, and you try and swing at them and you miss horribly and you fall and die again. Sometimes it just sucks when you roll bad.
Sometimes it sucks when you roll bad.
And as a player, it just like feels like, oh shit, I can't do anything. And if we have rules where your like critical failure rules, it just really can pile on. But how do you make it still be fun? Of like you're rolling 1s or 5s all night, and how do you make those low rolls into something that's fun and exciting other than just like, oh, I miss,
right,
goodbye. Or like I fall into a crevice for 1,000 feet, I die.
One of the things that I was doing for a Nat 1, for all Nat 1s at the very beginning of our campaign, was to make it negatively affect you. Now that's not fair, because you're gonna go try to chop a tree down, and let's just say you're gonna go pick a lock and you get a Nat 1. No, maybe not a lock. You're gonna try to convince someone to do a Nat 1. No, those are all good for. You know what it is? I think I know the answer to this question. I'm trying to do a basic thing where it's like,
no, tell me your answer.
So for example, Rena jumped on the tree, got a Nat 1, and now he's gonna fall all the way down. Boom, boom, boom. That's his turn. Was that warranted? Yes, but like, could it have been played out a little bit better in a more fun fashion? It was you, and you like, I forgot exactly what you did, but like, it's like you took all that damage, but you landed in a perfect position, or like whatever.
Well, I this is something that I've tried to do is like make those failures into something. Like I'm trying to do something and oh no, this is happening, and I like to create comedy in my failures.
Yeah, so it's sort of like, how do you have fun with a fail, or how do you have immersion with a fail? We're all
Yeah,
about immersion here at Let's Talk Lore and bettering
right,
the game, making it more fun. Um, I guess it's a two. Again, I love saying the two-way street, um, and it's also more of like a highway because other players are also involved. When you
right.
role play a fail and like the guy fails, I'm a barbarian. I'm gonna go punch this door down, and I fail, nothing happens. Like maybe
Yeah,
the character, like, role play it out,
yeah,
role play that out. You're so frustrated. Maybe you rage, even though you're not
yeah,
supposed to, or the dungeon master, like, echoes are heard throughout the corridor and demons come or whatever,
right.
or
Yeah.
um
But what if your uh party is about to die and you're just trying to escape and this door is just jammed and the only escape is through this door, you roll that nat one, demons come, you all die.
no, demon
I hear you.
demon demons come, they stare at you, looking at you, panting, waiting for someone to help you, knowing no one's going to come, and the artifact that you were looking for they have, and they run out.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
um
Oh,
there's immersive ways to do it,
yeah.
but like, don't just jump into it and say, fail next, because
Yeah.
it is a turn-based game, but it's co-op too. So like, what about the other players? Like,
Right.
as a DM, don't just punish Chris, you, for falling off the tree. And maybe you say, and Sprock or Adam, like, how did that make you feel? Like, what, you know,
What would your character would your character react to seeing that
yeah, or
something?
set it up. Would you like to say anything to the group before you? Now you rolled your nat one. Would you like to say
Yeah.
anything before you attempt your jump? What would your character say? Oh, well, he's going to do this. I got it, guys. No problem. Have the player describe the fall. It's
Yeah.
hilarious when you describe it. I always make Matt describe his
Grab
nat
his.
ones. Yeah, he's like, he's gonna go shoot an arrow at the guy who's 2 feet away from. Who's Oh, he was in the kitchen and he was gonna go kill some lady he thought was a spy, who wasn't, but he was gonna, NPC killer.
Yeah.
And he he had her like this, and then he let loose and rolled a nat one, and it did nothing happened. And I was like, the entire room stares at you. Describe it, make it fun, make it hilarious. Like, have
Yeah.
other people give people to chime in. Put a break in the action, a bonus action. Give everyone, okay, everyone has a bonus action here to, if they want to, do a little monologue about the nat one that you just
No.
witnessed. That's
No,
it.
it's just time stands still for a moment to have the fun in the conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the bonus action is not a bad idea. You had like, in a previous Let's Talk Lore, you had a wonderful
The
suggestion about
legendary
having the
action
legendary action for, like, for the big bads,
monologue.
to have a bonus action. They're just a bonus action
Uh,
whenever they want, um, to monologue a little bit, to sort of entice get the
yeah.
crowd, stoke the fire. And a lot of times during combat, that's necessary, and I find it's lacking sometimes when you don't have that monologue. But in that ones or fails, maybe do the same thing. Okay, everyone here is going to get a bonus action on their turn to either, I wouldn't want to say insult, but
Yeah.
to comment, to, if they would like, because the whole room is, if you were to go up and dance, and like, Buddhabot wanted to dance. It turned out he rolled really high, but if he rolled really low, they would just see a robot doing a really, like, the robot dance, but
Clunky move it. Yeah.
he's rusty. Warforged doing the robot, he's rusty.
The bar is
You know,
silent. You just hear
yeah,
creaks and the
yeah.
only thing
The
he's saying.
speakers break,
Yeah.
and he doesn't know. But yeah, what else about Nat ones? It's not just like it's in combat. It's in actions. It's in
Right.
charisma. It's in wisdom. Like, like, for example, like, I'm gonna try to check the my knowledge of the lore. I'm gonna try to check my knowledge of the history. Like you
Right.
get a nat one. Make that interesting. Like how do you?
Well, yeah, you just create it's all opportunities to create something fun, something interesting. So like a check like that, I skipped that day in school when they were talking about that topic. I was out hunting or something. Create something else.
Yeah, or maybe like you can add another mechanic in there. I love mechanics.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like you do a history check about like the vampires
Right.
or in our story about the skulls, and you get a nat one, and you are convinced that the skulls aren't important, or the
Yeah.
skull, or you're actually
Or
looking
there's a different meaning or
yeah, or like
something, and now you've just sown division in the party,
you're convinced that the
which is
story
fun.
you're convinced that the story yeah, you're convinced that the skull is actually outside of the dungeon, and
Hmm.
for the next three turns, you roll your dice. The next, let the player roll the dice, but the next whatever turns on a d4, you are convinced and are trying to convince the party that the thing is outside, and you have to
Yeah.
contest it with your players,
Right.
for convincing them. Like there's ways to do it, but it's
Yeah.
like it's hard to do it on the spot. It is. I will say this about Nat One, making it engaging and fun. It's very hard to do it on the spot. I find it very easy to do in the downtime when you guys are exploring like a town or a city or talking to
Hmm.
someone or trying to convince them of something. But like when you're in the dungeon and you set a trap and the guy hits a nat one, the trap goes off. That's engaging because the trap goes off. There's something that
Right.
happens. A nat one should have something like that happens, but it's somewhat immersive in the because like when the trap goes off after a nat one, everyone now knows. Watch out.
Yeah.
We're going to
Well,
investigate, which is what happened in the real world. But like,
yeah.
you know, I
Well, and also there's ways to create a story around that failure. It just doesn't
oh
have
yeah,
to be, oh, you suck, because the dice are going to roll whatever they roll. It doesn't really matter what the dice say. It's going to create a story either way, and we're going to have fun because we're sitting and talking and telling a story. And like the local game I'm playing, and we use a crit fail dice. So, and NPCs, players, you roll on that one. If you're in combat, we roll the crit fail dice. Maybe you hit yourself, or you fall down, or you hit a friend, or like this last little adventure we did, I rolled an at one multiple times, and it was always hit my ally, who was always the same person next to the creatures I was trying to hit, and I killed this character three times with my nat ones. So it became a thing in the game of, oh, don't shoot at the same person I'm near because I don't want you to kill me. And it became this running joke among the story and created camaraderie amongst the characters.
that's hilarious. Yeah, I mean nat ones. If and the same thing with the 20s. Um,
Yeah.
you don't always have to get a treasure. Or you don't always have to succeed. Like the whole room is now going to praise you for like or you get a +1 on your confidence. That it doesn't
Yeah.
always have to be the generic, but as I said before, it's very hard to for for example, I'm saying that I suggest you do this because it sounds like it would be very fun, and I wish that I had a dungeon master that would do that for me. But but I'm the dungeon master, and a lot of the times I don't do that. I don't remember to do it.
Right.
So
Right.
like have a little note, have a little table that says something about nat ones, whether it's in combat. Like don't don't always like just fail and move on because
Right.
the guys waited, six
No.
turns for his turn, and he rolled a nat one. You fail, moving on to no.
Yeah.
Make that player engaging. Give him enough time.
Give
Maybe
them the
that's
spotlight for a
maybe
moment.
maybe that's the answer. Your turn is like what, 30, 45 seconds, a minute
If you're
usually
lucky.
if you're lucky.
Yeah.
2 minutes. Give him
No.
give him give him a minute. Like, allow him
Give them
to
some time to talk or
yeah, and
do something.
it might actually be a nice little a nat one, a fail in like a dungeon might be a nice little breath of fresh air that you weren't
Yeah.
actually looking
Well,
for.
maybe you're in a really tough situation and you you go to get ready to shoot and you get in that one, so your character needs a moment to recollect their thoughts, their bow. Uh, they go to pull it back and they don't have the strength. They just need to sit down for a moment. Yeah, but I love that idea of giving still give them the spotlight,
Yeah.
saying like, what is your character doing while this is happening?
Yes.
I like that.
And
It's,
that's
it still makes you feel like you're part of what's going on in the fight, in the environment, immersing them in that world, in the encounter that's happening.
yeah. By the way, I love your background. It's sick.
Oh, thank you.
You know, absolutely sick. We just upgraded our background. If anyone wants us to talk about a specific topic, now would be the time, or we're gonna go into another one. 3 seconds. Hey, Hazel Lerdrian. I must have just absolutely destroyed that.
No, it was hopefully it was perfect.
I'm gonna say, what topic do you want us? Any? And I'll give 2 seconds. Let's do a breath of fresh air. Hey, Hazel, um, you can roll, and we'll do any topic you want, or we're going to talk about briefly, because it was a 50-50 on the poll. I just want to
Okay.
hear what you have to say and what I come up with, because I don't really know the answer as to whether or not gods need belief. Let me look up exactly what I wrote. Um,
You just gave me a really good idea for gods
okay.
in our world.
Hazel says, have you created custom races, factions, or historic events? Yes, historic
Yes,
events.
yeah.
Yes, factions and custom race. Have I done a custom race in Hazel? Yes. Um, there is, well, I play in a game that our good friend Adam is playing in, or DMing,
Yeah.
where he's created a wasteland,
Oh yeah.
sort of like uh,
Mad
Yeah,
Max.
exactly like Mad Max. And I decided I want to be a turtle rogue, but I turned into a monk because it was just a better fit. And so he took the turtle, but then he created a whole new. It's almost like he adjusted the race category, so it's like everyone has is super advanced sort of, but also like desperate in the sense. So like my shell, yes, it acts as a protector, but it also has like a radioactive um, as much it's think of Black Panthers. You get hit,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden you can release that energy.
Yeah.
And but if you roll horribly on it, like you're gonna get affected. In fact,
Yeah.
I think you actually get a negative. You get dealt some damage.
Okay.
Factions, Chris,
Yeah.
historical
Well,
historical events.
yeah, we've created all of those. Well, and any homebrew story is going to have all of those elements in
Right,
them.
right.
Um,
But maybe
but
Hazel
yeah,
wants us to talk about like, oh, and which is your favorite race, Chris? What's your favorite race?
oh, I have a hidden love for halflings because of Nat ones.
You haven't. I don't think you've played. Did you play? Have I
I
have I
have not
killed?
played a
I have
halfling
yet to
in
kill
your
your
world.
halfling.
I've played halflings in all other
Make a
most other
halfling.
games.
Make a halfling,
I
because the
I
next
will.
session is gonna. You might die. My favorite race. Shoot, this is gonna be a tough one. I loved playing the Loxodon. Loxodons have been a big theme
Yeah.
in the campaign, and quite honestly, I love dwarfs, but like I got to play a Loxodon paladin, and that was pretty sick. We
You,
have a
you
we
had a
have
lot of fun with that.
Hazel. Our build for my Loxodon paladin is actually on Let's Talk Lore. Her name is Collie Leafort. and
Yeah.
it might be a slow watch, something you can throw on in the background, but it is. She was just phenomenal in the game. It was awesome. Damaged by
She
Chris, by the way.
she ended up wearing high heels
Yeah, but high heels to that increased
to
her sneak around.
to moonwalk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I honestly just love playing any character. I always try and play a different combination of everything when I can. But
Yes.
I don't really have a true favorite.
Right. I
But
agree. They're all, I'm a
yeah.
little bit skeptical of the wizard though. I feel like the wizard would be. I feel like just the way I play characters, I like to rush into the battle, which is why the whole point of me playing the rogue was to shoot from afar because I know that I know that I always do that. So I wanted to be more
Yeah.
of like a artillery
Oh,
ranged guy. Um, and I had all the stat blocks for him, but then last minute I changed it to a monk. And you know what?
well,
Did I
it's
change?
because
Did I
he
change?
created a cool new like subclass just for you, and you're like, well, I guess I have to play a monk now.
Well, what do you for a monk? Do you use strengthened dex or is it's constitution?
Um, well, it depends on how you want to play it. You could do dex or strength.
Hazel, I don't know why there are so few people in my life. It might be because we're we're trying to grow, we're trying to get there, but
Yeah,
usually there are more. We're also spread out throughout the. We're on YouTube, on Twitch, on this and that,
yeah.
and it might be that they're spread out, and we need to consolidate. I'm working on that, but do I know about SEO and stuff? Only what Google says, I guess. Um, Chris, let's go. Let's.
But the gods, you
Yeah,
gave
let's.
talking about the gods
Okay,
and
so gods in your D&D game. I. It's an interesting topic uh, for me that was suggested. Do gods need believers to exist, or do they draw their powers from beliefs? Um, I think so. You know, I mean, imagine our world right now. Um, the Catholic Church. Like, let's
right,
just. I don't want to go down a tangent and get a whole bunch of trolls. Um, but imagine like if everyone stopped believing in the Christian God. Like, what would that
right,
do to the church? Like, well, it would go bankrupt. It would people would have to find like priests would have to find jobs. I guess I don't
right.
really know, but
Well,
in a make believe world, like
right.
does that God get forgotten?
Well, they're forgotten to the world, but does it give them power? I mean, when in a world where there are gods that have power and grant power to people, it it may or may not be that the believers grant the power. I mean, that's how we're doing it in Agoth Doomhand, the Skulls of Power. Of the more believers of the god, the more powerful the god is. I mean, I guess you could relate that to the influence that God has over the world. So the more believers in that God, it could be the influence that that God is having over this stretch of the world. And the more that grows, the more influence they have, which could equate to their fantasy manifested power. Or the idea that this just gave me, which I am going to use at some point, is maybe the gods are very powerful and the belief in them is stealing some of their power so that they are truly weakest when they have a large following, but when they're forgotten from the world, they regain the power that was taken from them
It's
and
that's
they wreak havoc.
there's so much to go with that. Do they do they pretend to be other gods doing things to get
Try
believers?
and lose
Yeah,
followers and
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. In our game, Agoth Doomhand, the protagonist is. Oh, ooh, look at this, Map El Cedo. This guy doesn't know SEO. I'm getting there. I'm about medium. I'm about medium set. Um, Low being I know what that SEO is stands for something.
Exists.
Medium being SEO is search engine optimization, and then high is how do you use it? Like I like a medium.
Medium high.
Yeah. Um, but okay,
Medium well
so oh
medium well
man,
done.
I just
Random tangent. Thanks, Matt Belzito.
yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. I deserve that one. Random tangent alert.
Yeah.
Um, Hazelton says our Hazel Adrian, your background is so cool. Thank you very much. I'm gonna make
I love it.
these are all created from both of our faces. I'm actually gonna do one that's just Chris in my background and one that's just me in Chris's background, and then it's gonna get real weird here. So back to the gods. Back to the gods. So
Yes.
in our campaign, gods, Agoth Doomhand is out for vengeance on the gods, and the way he has decided to do it is kill all believers. Now, just imagine for a brief second, all of like in ancient Mesopotamia. Imagine like all the gods that they believed in. Like you have
Hmm.
fields open. All the women are fertile at the same time. They all have their
Yeah.
go through their menstrual cycle at the same time.
Yeah.
They also which also means that like the people who get pregnant like back then they all gave birth at the same time. So like were they able to comprehend the science behind it? No. So what did they do? They probably believed in like the birthing god or like this
Right.
god, the sun. What is that? All this stuff.
Yeah.
They probably had names for gods. They probably had all this stuff. And even before the Mesopotamian time, what were people thinking? But they didn't have the ability to write it down. So their gods that they worshipped, and they probably did worship, they probably at some point decided all to go out to the field and honor the moon because that's
Hmm.
when the fertilization happened or whatever it was. Um, that knowledge probably died because they didn't have a way to pass it on besides words. Yeah, like before the Mesopotamian time.
Right.
So just imagine how much knowledge was lost and belief in the gods. So those gods in our world have zero power, like the Catholic Church does, because people believe in this thing, and I hope I'm not offending any higher being, but like
Right.
the gods have a power in our actual world, um,
Yes.
built on a belief system. If you kill the belief, then there's no power there. So the same thing I applied to our world, but they're actual gods. But
Yeah.
when the believers stop, I have it linked to their power. So like
Right.
when Mr. Matt Belcito, who actually plays with us, um, when his character, his backstory, uh, he killed a bunch of Talus followers. I actually built that into the background of something that Doomhand would know, and it was one of the first times that he actually witnessed Talus's like almost extinction until of course Lone Star. But
Yeah.
you know, um, what's your take on the power? Like, how would you?
Well, playing in the Skulls of Power, playing with that, I that's a common theme for power for gods in a fantasy world. And it's always interesting to see if that really has an effect in how the gods interact. Like if you see the large temples and large religious spread throughout the lands, does that god actually have a more of a direct impact in the world, or is it just through the followers? Of like, do you see the change in that power of the god depending on those?
Do you think that you just reminded me of something. You know how when you set up a session zero, you do like you're supposed to like I don't know if you're supposed to, but um, when you Google how to do a session zero, like you tell the characters like what the world's like,
Hmm.
um, especially if you're creating one from homebrew like we did, what's the level of magic there is? If is it Harry Potter where everyone can go Kazam? Is it X-Men where everyone has like a special thing? Or is it more like Lord of the Rings where,
Ranks.
you know,
Very few.
very few but powerful, that type of thing?
Hmm.
Um, Maybe there's a level for that or a similar type of thing for that for when you do religion or gods. Like, how
Yeah.
much of the world is ruled by gods? They exist. Do they care? The gods don't really care about this world. They may, if you worship them enough or they have worshippers, they may show face, but they don't care, or
Yeah.
they're
They
come up with a reason why they're not there or whatever. But um, you know, I feel like in
interesting.
the
Yeah.
D&D Beyond, uh, if you're playing one of their created campaigns, those gods exist. What's it called? The Pantheon
The
ex,
Pantheon. Yeah.
exists, but like, maybe you tell the players like the gods have taken a break. They're sort of disappointed in all kinds, except for maybe this particular race or whatever, and they're hard to get in touch with, or
Yeah.
they do, like they do care, and they're everywhere, and if you worship the right one at the right time, they'll help
You
you.
get all your dreams come true.
Yeah, so you'll see that in
Or
dungeons,
maybe
in
or maybe
dungeons,
you get tricked, so you worship the one god that you think is the good one and at just the wrong time, and they come to claim your soul.
yeah,
But that's an interesting split. Um, and it depends on you as the dungeon master how much you want them to get involved. Do you want to have these all-powerful creatures hopping in and out occasionally, messing with them or helping them? Maybe you do. Maybe you want to have uh your players really interact with the deities and really have that connection of to these really powerful creatures. Meet them, talk to them, interact with them, and more than just their followers and the teachings and the stories that you hear about them.
yeah,
I think the stronger, the more powerful your characters get, the more uh, honest, not the same level, but a comparable to everyone else in the world. Of like, go ahead.
Matt Belcito writes, if gods draw from followers, their ability should ebb and flow with the campaign, like when you guys did that first Earthers. Great story.
Flat
Flat
Earthers.
Earthers. Sorry, I think I need glasses. Flat Earthers. Great storyline. Matt, I guess. I guess that's a
Well,
good
well,
point.
yeah.
Matt, no inspiration, but
Matt,
I'm
I'm
just
giving
kidding.
you
I was gonna
inspiration.
give you inspiration.
You get a cool
Um,
point.
yeah, I think you're
Yeah.
right. I think you're
Well,
right.
if they're especially in the campaign, if you're going through with Doomhand and just eradicating swaths of followers to certain gods, of course those powers are going to change. You saw that with Lone Star with other I forgot the other god that you did that Doomhand wiped out, or most of them. But in your campaign, you should be seeing, if that's a tie, you should be seeing gods wither and die.
Yeah,
It
I think
should.
so.
It depends on how you're running that engagement.
Maybe we need to do a god run-in. I did a bunch of those at the very beginning.
Yeah. Well, we
Um,
saw the avatars of Shar and I forgot the other one's
Ball.
name. Ball.
Well, because I have gods that are particular to the story of Doomhand,
Yeah.
and why he's pissed off at them and why he wants to kill them. But if you want to see, if you really want to see what the power of the gods is like in a campaign, have an avatar show up and make them weak, make them strong, make
Yeah.
have. Are there a lot of followers? You don't have. There's plenty of ways to also, in an immersion sense, tell the group how strong the god is by having them have a lot of visual followers. Like when I did with Sun God, there were a lot of people. You knew it was important to this place. You didn't care. You know, the island. Random tangent alert again on myself. Man, I'm winning these random tangent alerts. Random tangent alert. I had I had maybe a floating island. It depends on what happens next week with in our live campaign Monday night. Actually, you can tune into that if you're interested. They took the crystal, which is the magic power of the island floating in the sky, keeping it floating, and they stole it, and now it's plummeting. But right before that, they just had a whole bunch of people worshiping the sun god. So in my mind, I'm like, do the players know that this is going to trigger something in the actual world? Because Doomhand isn't just trying to kill those gods. He's trying to kill all gods. Which is why he's trying to spread the zombie apocalypse, which is why he's trying to, that's his way.
Well, I think there has been conversations of, is what he's doing wrong in recent weeks of the game or recent sessions. So I think
love it.
The party itself is a little indifferent to like maybe we're gonna start siding with Doomhand, so we'll see what happens with this. But also, you create a really good distraction for us. We can't not take the distraction.
Of course.
Like so you know Stag is the chaotic character. That's what he's gonna do. He's gonna say, "Yep, let's just slip right inside and do this right underneath their nose because it's fun."
Gods, again. It depends. I view it like sort of like magic. Is magic strong in the world? Is it weak in the world? Is it?
Yeah, it's another slider that you can use to tune how you want the feel of the game to be.
Maybe the magic and the gods are all in one. Maybe worshippers of a particular god, whatever it is, give players and NPCs in the world magic. The more you believe in that type of god, so that when the players do their mage hand, you know, if it's the god of Baal, maybe blood shoots out and a misty bloody hand comes out, or if it's Talona, the poison, you get look, same thing but mushrooms and crap, So again, a suggestion sort of depends on your campaign. I like I think in our world, in the real world, and I think from me, immersion is easiest when it comes and relates to the real world. Like you're playing a game over here, but what would actually happen in the real world with the gods? I think that if people stopped worshiping a particular god, that belief system is just dead in the real world. So why wouldn't it be in the made-up one? And if it does die, maybe the god is omnipotent and seeks revenge.
Yeah. Well, but either way, I think you bring up a great point of having a conversation with your DM, or if you're a DM, figuring out where you want that slider in the game, or play around with it a little bit. See if you want to add more direct interaction. It's another tool that you can use. And if you're a player and you're a cleric or paladin or someone who you want to have be interacting with the gods, talk to the DM and find out how involved the gods are. I know in the local group, gods are always listening, and so you never know when you might need to pray for a god to get something. So every character I play in that with that group is always religious to one god or another, just because you never know when you need to pray for help in that fight when everyone is dead and the rocks are tumbling down, and you say,
and you get down on your knees, and you get down on your knees, and you start, and you get down on your knees. I'm gonna take, and then all of a sudden, Bertha comes out, and Bertha's the god of, flamboyant strength, and she stops that hill from sliding.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a good wrap up, right?
Well, and that's a good cliffhanger. We need to talk more about gods.
We do.
Next
we
time,
certainly do.
On Let's Talk Lore. Roll high and subscribe.
Roll high and subscribe. Real quick, Hazel Adrian, you're an artist. We haven't DM me for a potential collab. Just to remember, we all donations, but also all funds and money that we receive from either Instagram posting or any sort of monetization from any platform that we're on, which is why we're on a lot of them. We donate 100% to kids with special needs. So hopefully, if there's a price tag on your collaboration, it takes that into consideration, because we're not, we're non-profit over here. With that said, roll high and subscribe. Matt Balsudo, I'll see your ass on Monday. You get advantage on a roll, and it might not be the roll, but we can talk about it.
We're gonna have an airship battle with a dragon. It's gonna be ridiculous.
I completely. I know exactly what I'm doing right after this. Filming a commercial, but also no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, this is gonna be insane. How do you even do a battle with a dragon on a floating island that's crashing on a ship? There's two ships.
Well, the easy solution, once the ships and the dragon are away from the island, you get rid of the island and make it easier. Because
Did you watch Avengers 2: Age of Ultron? You're in the stratosphere, I think, right? And now it's going down. I mean, you're gonna, now we have to roll. Well, actually, I know where you are, and it's funny. You're on the outskirts of. You're actually not too far away from the Artemisian forest, because you guys kept going north, and that's.
Well, no, Artemisian forest was south. We would be near north. The island of Brock in that northern area.
Yes, so Brock might just get fucking annihilated. Might be a crater.
Well,
I might have to change the map.
That's one way to get rid of Talos.
That's funny.
Oh,
you might be getting
all this hard work.
I have a feeling like Doomhand's coming too, but stay tuned. Yeah. Is Doomhand coming to save these guys? Probably not. Roll high, subscribe, and thanks for joining.